so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
What is happening, nasties? Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. I'm happy to be filling in for Dusty, who's fulfilling his CFL duties and dreams, potentially. I am joined by the man in the box, Mr. Matt Kassian, as well as to my right, viewers left, Joaquin Gage. How you boys doing?
I'm good. I'm all right, except for the clouds in the.
It could be nicer out.
Like driving here, it looks nice.
Yeah.
Then you look in the rear view and it's just black clouds.
Yeah.
I did plant a tree over the weekend, so it's good
You
that
did?
way. Yeah.
What type of tree?
A
mountain ash?
no.
A fir? A cedar?
What's a lilac tree?
A lilac tree.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love lilacs.
They smell great.
They smell beautiful.
But I might have to prune and stuff, so I had to read because I want it to get big and bushy.
Yeah, so you top it.
Do you top it?
You top it. That'll
produce
more growth outward.
You do that at the end of the season or the beginning?
You're gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to call an arborist.
Yeah,
yeah. You can Google it too, but each tree has different, I guess, needs.
Because in my neighborhood, I've noticed it's like buying the car that you think you want, and then you notice everyone else has one too.
Yep.
So I noticed all these lilac trees, and there's one at the end of my street, a guy, and his lawn it looks like a military cut, like it's perfect.
Yeah.
And his tree is it's awesome. But then there's a few Charlie Brown trees.
Right. So I would go talk to that neighbor.
And it actually is the house of former Oiler Josh Green.
Is it?
Yeah.
If you went and talked to that neighbor about his lilac tree and how you have lilac jealousy, it would make his day.
Probably.
Because he's been waiting years
for somebody
to come rap on the door and say, "Gonna talk to you about your bush."
How do I get my bushy more bushy?
Guys, Two Guys and a Goalie is brought to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at indeed.ca. With the Next Person Up program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it's a career. Cass, are you at home today?
Today I'm at home. Yeah, it's been nuts. I've been all over the place and keep being all over the place the rest of the summer. It's like I've gone every week somewhere for at least a day or two. So it's I've been all over the place. I feel like I haven't got to talk to you guys in a while.
Is it a busier day at your house this morning? The kids are home, right? School's out, yeah?
Well, they're not here right now.
Okay.
They're not here right now. They're out. They are out there. Not outside out there. My wife has them somewhere. I don't know where. Otherwise, yes. Yeah. And I was in our Sherwood Park because we have an office in Sherwood Park too. I was in that office this morning. It's just a little bit easier to do this from here because there's no way. My door was getting knocked on every 5 seconds. Every
You're
5
busy
seconds.
Guy.
Someone was, well, with 3 daughters in the house. I mean, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Like someone wants to talk to you every 5 seconds about something, about some kind of emotion or feeling. And so, yeah, I was like, I can't work here in the morning. So I was in at the office, and then I knew they were gone. So I came back here to do this. And who knows, maybe they show up halfway through and all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of kids just ripping through the background doing Lord knows what.
Well, and it is interesting because we're all girl dads.
Yes.
Myself, I have 3 daughters. Cass, you have 3 daughters, and our daughters are pretty, they're in the same boat in terms of ages. So today it's a different feeling for Cass and I now that school's out, as opposed to your daughter who is went
to a party last night and needed to be picked up at 12:30.
Yeah. So school's out rings differently for different ages of parenting. So you were already on Uber duty last night, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. And your daughter, she's
16.
She's going into grade
12.
My gosh. Cass. How it is interesting. Everybody always says, just time flies by, just try and hold on to every moment you can. But it is probably the hardest thing to try and do.
Yeah, because sometimes you go, gosh, I can't wait till you're older and I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But then you realize, well, when they get to that age, then oh man,
I wish they'd be closer to me.
But it's the relationship changes in a good way. And like sometimes my daughter still goes, Dad, come cuddle and let's watch a show together.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So we were watching Love Island the other day, and I am basically just ripping all the guys on it. I think I referred to it as Quadless Island because all these guys are doing push-ups and curls,
skipping leg days,
but
huh?
just
no
like
calves, yeah.
no Quadless Island. That's what it's called because most of these guys' calves were bigger than their quads. I was surprised how these guys could actually stand up without because they're so top heavy with all the push-ups and bench press that they're doing that they don't just fall over.
Yeah, just wind will take them over. I feel guys like it's big kids, big problems, right? Mm-hmm. Like where, it's just they're different problems. And yes, there's some things you're excited. Like we're out of the diaper stage, right? And you're excited to move out of the diaper stage. I just can't wait till there's no more.
That's
diaper.
a win.
But then you miss the diaper stage. It's a win, but you still miss it. And it's like you miss every stage once you're past it. And I feel like even for where you're at now, Gage, it's like you're going to get past that stage and you're going to miss that stage, right? Like you're always going to be looking back, and but there's always good things to look forward to as well. So I don't know. It's wonderful and awesome and great, and also terrifying at the same time. And my oldest has started to try to call me bro all the time. So there's that.
We do not allow bro.
No,
it's not allowed in our house.
No, we've shut that right down.
Yeah.
Where she just looked at me one day. She's like I asked her to do something. She was like, bro. And I'm like, nope. Like, not happening. Not happening.
I don't know if it's an age thing or my daughter thing, but there's a definite change to how their hearing works as they get older because
selective.
Oh my gosh. Like it'll be dad, mom, dad from upstairs. And we have to go to her to converse. Gosh. They don't come to us anymore. No. And then, so when it's reverse, I'm like, Liliana, and nothing. And I know she can hear me. Like she knows. And then, because I know she can hear me, because then when my wife and I are talking about her downstairs, she'll be in the same place in her room and go, why are you guys talking about me?
Oh, man.
Oh,
well, it is interesting. My youngest, who's now 9, she'll still come over across the hallway at night sometimes. And climb in, and she always goes to mom's side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably just a natural thing, but it does cause my wife some trouble with her sleeps.
Yeah.
And I've always just said, feel free to come on to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always open for that. And B, Mom, it's not always going to be there.
Yeah.
So, you do have to cherish those moments. Hey, we will talk about hockey, okay, everybody? We will get into this. And we've got a lot to get to today. First time with the three of us, we're going to talk about the Evander Kane trade. We're going to jump into what Frank Saravelli reported on with a potential new agreement between the NHL and the NHLPA, which would kick in starting in 2026. I want to look over some of the highlights of that. Okay. And draft day. It's draft day in the NHL. And you, listeners, I don't know if you realize this, how lucky you are, and me. I don't take this for granted one single day. But you've got Joaquin Gage sitting right here. You've got Matt Cassian in the box. Two guys that were drafted and played professional hockey that are sitting right here. So I figured, how stupid would it be if I didn't at least engage each of them individually on their draft day? I want to hear it all. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear what your memories of it were, where you were, how you consumed it, how you found out. Did you go higher? Did you go low? We're going to get into all of that with these two former NHL players, because I think it's just... Well, we'll get into it, but I can imagine those were pretty special days for you. Then we're going to have Hire It or Fire It coming up in the latter part of the show as well. But let's dive right in. Let's dive into this Evander Kane trade. We had Matt Price from the Karras and Price podcast on the Reed Wilkins show yesterday. And the question I said to him was, are you surprised, because they're based in Vancouver, are you surprised that this trade happened and there was no retention on the Oilers side? Which I think, from an Oilers perspective, that went about as well as it could. Gage, What were your thoughts on that?
I was surprised, actually. I thought that, we all knew that there was an attempt to move Evander Kane at the deadline. And I thought it would involve some sort of retention on the Edmonton Oilers part, but the fact that they were able to get this done is, I think, a feather in Stan Bowman's cap. This is great. They wanted to get younger. They needed to increase the cap space to get some of these things done. And Hernan and I were talking yesterday, and we didn't go into the rumor mill with Evander Kane and things. We pointed out a lot of the good things that he accomplished with the Edmonton Oilers. You heard there was a few ripples, but I think I don't know if that's just because Evander Kane is polarizing in that respect. Like any sort of dispute with a teammate, if it gets out, Evander Kane, his old antics are up again, right? But Cass, you can speak to this too. Not everyone gets along all the time, right? It's only natural that top physical athletes competing on a regular basis are going to get mad at one another at some point during the season. So, but there is a sense that it alleviated some of the. I don't know if negativity is the right word, out of the dressing room, and a fresh start. Without Evander Kane, I think that can only help. But I do think that he was a pretty good player and teammate, and wonderful in the community for Edmonton.
Ooh, a lot to unpack. I am shocked that there was no retention for that value of a contract with a player that has the reputation that Evander Kane has, and that he can be, especially that, I guess maybe you well-earned, not well-earned, wherever you land on it. Evander Kane has a reputation. He has a reputation. And you just traded, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you just traded for a guy with the reputation of being at times abrasive with players in the dressing room. Earned, unearned, doesn't matter. He has that reputation. You just had to go through a massive blow up internally as an organization, as the Vancouver Canucks, to trade JT Miller because he couldn't get along with Elias Pettersson. or Pettersson couldn't get along with Miller, like either or. Like you had such a toxic environment that you had to trade a star player away from Vancouver. And now you trade with no salary retained for Evander Kane, who, yes, is from Vancouver. Yes, he may be on his best behavior, but he's got that reputation of being challenging for some players to get along with inside the dressing room. That shocked me. I'm not surprised Evander Kane wanted to go to Vancouver. Hometown.
Yeah.
He played his junior there. Great. Of course he's going to wave to go there. Keep playing in the NHL, played in his hometown. Absolutely. He's going to Vancouver. He's waving that. I am shocked that Vancouver made that trade. And again, like right, wrong, wherever you land on Evander Kane's reputation is earned or unearned, at some point where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Because it's been everywhere that there've been reports of that have happened. And so I was shocked. I was shocked that Vancouver made that trade without any salary retention.
Well,
like,
Cass,
if anything, I would have I expected when I saw that he was going to be traded, I was expecting a draft pick to go from Edmonton to Vancouver if there's no salary retention. No, I'm serious, because if you're trying to clear up cap space to move a guy without retaining any salary, to say, hey, instead of us retaining salary, we're going to throw in the 6th round draft pick for us, Kane in a 6 just to move on. Like I was surprised. Sorry, I cut you off there, Jay. But no. I was shocked.
I just wanted to add to it on the Sakaris and Price Twitter page. They asked the question, they put a poll up. What is your biggest issue with the Canucks acquisition of Evander Kane? Here were the 4 choices: age/durability, character or distractions, cap hit, or none. I like it. Almost 2,500 votes. 59% of the vote went to character/distractions.
Yeah.
So
because you just had a whole season of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why that is, it's a great point to bring up, Cass, is you've just dealt with it and it blew up the locker room. It shattered that team and you're bringing in another wild card. Now, fair or not, none of us know Evander Kane personally. But it is what it is, Cass. As you said, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And obviously Vancouver sees it that way as well. So that'll be interesting to see. Now, part of me also wonder, you look at the flip side, would it have been the right move for Edmonton to keep Evander Kane for this last year? I felt and feel that you're getting a healthy Evander Kane who's heading into a contract year. You might just get the right Evander Kane that you've been looking for, that Oilers fans have seen. So do you think it was the right decision, Cass, for them to move on?
Yes, because you're looking at Trent Frederick and say, here's a guy that's going to do it for maybe a slightly cheaper, that's a heck of a lot younger, that doesn't have the potential of being abrasive in the dressing room. And I've known Evander since he was 15. There's people that are going to love him and love his personality and get along with him great inside a dressing room, and there's people that it's going to rub the wrong way. And that's that's not taking a personal position on how I feel about him. That's just, he's got a big personality, and we can see that as fans. You see it in how he arrives at the game, right? You see it, like, it's just, he's got a personality, and right, wrong, or indifferent. There's going to be people that just, they don't respond well to that. And I saw that going back to when he was 15, stepping into the Vancouver Giants locker room at training camp. Like, he's going to rub some people the wrong way. And that's, we all of us are going to, right? There's all going to be people we don't get along with. There's all going to be people we respond to. I can't stand Joaquin Gage. Can't be in the same room with them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it just bothers me. But that now you've let the cat out of the bag. That's why you're always.
He's made this.
That's why you're always remote, Cass, is because you two can't be in the same room together.
We just can't. But I think from Edmonton's standpoint, like you have a cap issue with that, and a long-term issue where it's like, okay, if we expect that Trent Frederick is going to be able to step into that type of a role of a physical guy that can put up some goals, that can be around for a lot longer than Evander Kane's going to be around. And if you have no personality conflict, where maybe there was, even if it's not major, maybe there was conflict in the Oilers dressing room. Maybe there was. And moving on from Evander Kane and saying, okay, Frederick's going to be our guy to have that role, I think you're trying to alleviate a few things at once. So you maintain a young guy you traded for that you want to have for longer, not super young, I guess, but younger than Kane. You move on from a guy that, right, wrong, or indifferent, may rub some guys the wrong way in the dressing room. And you clear up cap space to be able to keep Frederick. Like, to me, it's an absolute win for the Edmonton Oilers, an absolute win for it. And the poll mentioned that there's the health issues and all that for Kane as well, long term. So, yeah, it makes sense to me that they were able to or wanted to move him. Not that they're able to, but that they wanted to move him.
Well, and perhaps the demise of Evander Kane in Edmonton started well before any of us would have thought, and at the acquisition of Trent Frederick at the trade deadline. That was obviously a calculated move, knowing where this team was heading in the offseason, knowing they're going to be up against the cap to try and get a Trent Frederick who, I mean, and that's a lot of, I'll just say it, that's a lot of expectations put on a player who nobody really in this market anyways has seen. I mean, I don't even believe Trent Frederick was, that high ankle sprain. I mean, we talked about that ad nauseum, and that's a tough injury to get over. That's something that takes quite a while. So I certainly hope for the Oilers that Trent Frederick can deliver on these expectations, but they are quite lofty. I will say that. Danny T in the Nasty Chat sums it up. He said, what's funny is we only had Kane for the playoffs for 21 games, and he still stirred the pot in that short amount of time. So yeah, the Oilers have moved on. I think it's fair to say that, given their cap situation, this was the right decision. The NHL and NHLPA are closing in on a 4-year deal starting in 2026. That was reported by Frank Saravalli. Some of the highlights, I mean, obviously the clickbait, or the main one is the league's going to move to an 84-game season. So they're going to add 2 more games. I've talked to Hernan about it, who's the co-host of the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. And I said, look, Hernan, are you going to talk to Dusty? I mean, your season just got extended by 2 games in 2026. Some other things, player contracts will be term limited to a maximum of 7 years with the current team, which is currently at 8. Signing rights to draft picks will be uniform across the board until the age of 22. That is something that has changed. And this, I thought this is
what
interesting.
Does that mean?
Well, okay, so let's dive into this.
Yeah, let's
go
dive
ahead,
into that.
Cass.
Well, I was going to say, in a nutshell, when players would play in the NCAA route before, and they wouldn't sign their entry-level deal right away. So if they were drafted and they went to the NCAA, basically you get your UFA sooner, or you only have to sign like a 2-year contract. There's nuance to it, but just in a nutshell, that's what it was. And so with the changes the NCAA made to players that have played in the CHL now being able to play and then transition to the NCAA, basically they didn't want players having a workaround for part of it, young guys, to have shorter contracts. And they wanted to make it equal across the board, because before the thought was, well, if he's in college, he could stay there longer, play till he's 22. So when he signs his entry level contract, needs to be a shorter contract. That's kind of the mindset that they used to have. And now with players entering on the CHL side, it's they wanted to make sure that teams would still retain the ability to sign a drafted player for an appropriate amount of time, but make it equal across the board. That's what they're trying to do with that.
So what would be an example of an 18-year-old signing an NHL deal opposed to a 22-year-old college guy signing his first deal? Although he was he was drafted before.
So your college guy, you basically have longer to sign the college player before the rights turn out, because CHL
was 2 years, right, Cass? Now it's 4 years.
2 years for the CHL, right? So if you're 18 and you didn't sign, you drafted, you go back in the draft.
Yeah.
Right. Like
after
you drafted
2 years, right?
After
or if
2 years, you don't sign.
Offer. Or an offer.
Or an offer. Yeah. If they don't offer you anything. Yeah. If you don't sign in general. So if they don't sign you in 2 years, you go back into the draft.
Yeah.
But college extended that longer. Okay. It extended it to 4 years, because players, if they got drafted, they go for a full college 4 years. Now, the contracts that the college guys would sign, they would be then could potentially be 2-year entry level deals instead of 3-year entry level deals.
Yeah,
because they just had been in school longer. So this is basically they're working this around to
make it fair, I guess.
Make it fair for everybody, equal across the board, because now CHL players can go to the NCAA.
Yeah. Okay.
One that stood out for me as well is, and it's this, I'll just say, this pisses me off. Establishment of a full-time emergency backup goalie, or Ebug, position within organizations. So each organization has to have a full-time Ebug. And the reason it ticks me off is because I love the story.
I know.
I love the story of the Golden Bear player coming up with the green and gold pads on and the green and gold helmet sitting on the bench. And then you just get that feeling of, ooh, what was that like? Or the beer league goalie that gets the call up. I don't know why they needed to do this, Gage.
I'm with you a little bit on it. But I think what they didn't want to have is the David Ayers thing happen again, because it makes although it's a great story, and it's for when there's not another professional sports league that happens in, a guy coming in and playing and winning an actual high, like it was unbelievable. But I understand that the league really doesn't want this to happen. Like they even changed the rules after him. The Ebug has to have some sort of professional experience, whether it's U Sports, things like that. So they have to have someone, maybe capable's the right word and stuff. But yeah, I get it. I understand it. You don't want, you don't want the guy coming, the old Zamboni driver from Tipton Arena.
Yeah, I do. I do. I really do want to see the old Zamboni driver from the Tipton Arena get in between the pipe. Now, what I will say, Gage, is you should watch for this job posting. Because
I was going to say, like, how is that going to work? Like that's the interesting side, because I get what they're doing with it. Like I totally get it, but that's what's interesting to me is how are you going to function it, and not necessarily like in Edmonton, but in like some of these other areas. And how is the NHLPA going to function with this? Because it's like that's a full-time position then. Like if it's a full-time position, like they're going to have to be there every single game at home, right? So that's, well, I mean, I guess it goes up now. So that's
42 per year in 2026.
42 home games per year. So 42 home games per year, they have to be there. And it's a full-time employee. So like, and now those typically are the guys that are going out, like if a goalie's hurt or if they have a rest day and you need an extra goalie for practice, like, and you're not calling someone up. So maybe someone's just having a maintenance day or whatever. Those are the guys that go on the ice too. So it's like I'm just interested to see like how the pay structure works. And what are the actual responsibilities? Like, do they just work for the organization and do other stuff, and then they're the backup goalie? Like, it's just, my mind is blown. I'm like, how is this going to actually function in practice?
Here's Jimmy, the Ebug, who by day is in our sales office, by night is our Ebug.
Well, I think you got to. Isn't there I thought I read that they have to have experience playing goal within a certain time frame, like within the last few years or currently playing. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know how much they make per game, but I mean, if it's $500,
they don't make that much normally. But if you're hiring a full-time employee, you're going to be paying them more than like $50 a game or $100 a game, like because they're going to have to be in the press box every game. Yeah. Like if it's a full-time employee. And you're going to have to do, which is fine, like, which is great. Like, you're going to be hiring like a college guy that didn't go pro, or are you going to be hiring like a player that, played in the AHL for a couple of years and now is retired and working in your marketing department? Right.
I'll do it for $1,000 a game.
Joaquin's in
$1,000 a game. Yeah. $42,000 a year. Like, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Like, it's just crazy though.
Good time, Charlie, in the inbox, 780-218-9999. If you want to get your thoughts and opinions across. He says, you're wrong, Jay. My dream job was to be a bullpen catcher. All the fun with zero pressure. A full-time Ebug goalie would be the best. Would that be like the dream job? If the compensation was adequate, Is that it?
Not anymore, because they don't even allow you on the bench anymore, too. Even if you're there, you have to go sit in the dressing room. They don't want you even on the bench.
Really?
Yeah. Because remember in
for the
actual game, because they passed this rule too. The Ebug can't sit on the bench even if he's necessary. Because remember, the Montreal Canadiens guy came out and they had to put him back in the room after, because he came out to the bench. He goes, no, you have to go sit in the dressing room. If we need you, we'll call you.
Yeah, that's annoying. I don't like that. I think that the backup catcher is huge. Like if the pay was right. I mean, that to me is pretty clutch. Like you get the knee savers on, you just get back there, like warm up the guys, like hang out in the dugout.
Yeah.
Or like the pitcher's dugout, depending on where it is in the
That's a fun place to be,
Like,
I think, too.
yeah.
The dugout, like the bullpen.
My lip would fall off with the amount of chew I'd have in all the time.
Chew, spit.
Not allowed, dude. You gotta have gum. Yeah, it's all gum now.
Well, all the kids now have those pouches things or whatever those are.
Zins.
So Zins, yeah, that's right. So, anyways, let's move along. Cass, I'll go to you first. Take me back to July 30th, 2005.
Yeah.
What was that day?
Well,
that was obviously the day of the 2005 entry draft.
Yeah.
Interesting story when I was looking it up, Cass, was that was supposed to be held on June 25th, hosted by the Ottawa Senators, but due to the 2004-05 lockout, which ended on July 22nd, the draft was then held on July 30th at the Westin Hotel in Ottawa. So what were you doing? Where were you that day? What was it like? Just walk us through your draft day experience.
Yeah, well, we didn't get to go because it was, as you said, at the Westin in Ottawa. And I think it was only 15 or 16 guys. The top 15 or 16 guys got to go rated. And I wasn't rated in the top 15, 16 guys. And the reason they did that, again, with the lockout and being such short notice and everything, like it's just, they didn't want to have the whole spectacle. And so they didn't have the whole spectacle. It was very, I think, skin and bones operation as far as the actual running of the draft. So, and I think they only televised like that first half of the first round. I can't recall if they even televised the whole thing. They may have televised the whole first round, but I knew I wasn't going to the first round. Still, had it on. But day two, that was back. TV wasn't still as crazy as it is now. So day two was not televised. There's nothing on day two. Being at the hotel, nothing on day two is televised. So day one, like you have the Crosby going up there, right? Like you have that, and you have that on camera, which is why they had like 15 guys there. So they have something for TV. Then after that, it was like old school drafts where nothing is televised. So it's behind closed doors. Your agents, like the agents are all there. So my agent was there, Jerry Johansson with TSC. So he was there. Other agents were there, and you are sitting at home with the TSN website pulled up at that point. And you are literally hammering the refresh button every 2 seconds. Like, and it's like a minute or 2 minutes or three between each pick, but you're just like sitting there tapping. So it's like you were able to watch the first round. You kind of got through that. And then you just start sitting and tapping, having no idea, right? When the second round starts, and for me, it's like I was ranked to go like late third, early fourth. That was kind of where, or mid third, I would say. Anywhere from mid third, all the boards had me mid third to late fourth. So there's a little bit of a range, but you have the teams that spend way more time with you, and some of them are crazy in their interviews. Like there's some that interview everybody and try to do full psychological assessments. Like I remember the New York Islanders back in the day, they had every single draft eligible player in Vancouver, where I was like for the Giants at the time. Like we had to sit down for like a 3 to 4 hour psychological interview, like full like evaluation. And it was nuts, and all in the same room at the same time going through these exams. But there's teams that maybe aren't as crazy. You meet with way more. Like I met with Calgary a whole bunch of times, met with Minnesota a whole bunch of times. And I knew Minnesota was very, very interested, met with them more than anybody else. They having them come out to meet my parents, my family, and that sort of thing, like where there was a lot of interaction. And So yeah, we were just sitting there hitting refresh button over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's, the picks kind of keep going. But what I didn't realize, because you're not going to, is that the picks are still, even as they update them, like they're still 5 to 10 minutes behind what's actually happening. So got the phone call well ahead. There's still, I think my screen was still at pick 54.
Dan
when
Bertram
got the call. Would have been Dan Bertram, another Alberta kid. That Dan Bertram, he crushed us. We lost midget. Yeah, I don't talk to me about Dan Bertram. The Bisons and beating us in provincials. My midget AAA year, we lost that Dan Bertram. What a jerk he was. Dan Bertram. His dad owned Graph. I don't know if he still does. I don't know if you did you know that his dad was one of the guys that owned. Yeah, his dad owned Graph.
Wow.
I don't know if he still does but back then he did anyways, and he had like perfect teeth, great smile. We just couldn't stand him. I just wanted to cross check that guy in the face. It's like, what a jerk. Apparently he's a really good guy, but what a jerk. And so yeah, a couple picks before they popped up, and then the phone rings, and it's Jerry's number on the phone, and just picks up, and you don't know if he's calling you just to say, hey, be patient. You don't know if he's calling you to say, hey, you got drafted. Now you're hoping he's calling because you get drafted, but you're hitting refresh and your name hasn't popped up yet, so you don't know. And then he was just like, he's like, hey, Cass, how does Minnesota sound? I was like, that basically just sounds amazing. He's like, all right, well, they're gonna call you. They picked you 57th, buddy. Just so excited for you, so happy for you. Wish you were be able to be here, but just really excited for the future. And then you hang up the phone and tell your family, and everyone starts freaking out, and then your phone rings again. And it was Doug Riseborough at the time, was the GM of the Minnesota Wild. So he just he gave me a call, and then him and Tom Lynn on the phone just basically welcomed me to the organization, and that was that. Then Minnesota was really cheap at the time and didn't do anything. So you got a jersey and nothing else. That was it. That was all they did for you back then. But it was still awesome. Just an amazing experience. It was really fun to be able to experience it with the family. I do wish that it was the opportunity to go to be at the whole spectacle, which is why I don't understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it this year. And I know they're just doing it this one year and then they're going back to how they used to do it. But it's like the spectacle is fun. It's exciting. We'll talk more about that later, and that I hate this format because I think even from a deal standpoint, it's like, and teams making deals and trades happening, it's a worse environment for it. But yeah, overall, it was a blast. It was a fun day. Went earlier than expected by about a round and a half, which was a ton of fun.
So how soon after the draft did it take you to get to Minnesota?
I can't remember how many weeks it was until the development camp. It wasn't as long or as short. Like most teams, their development camp, like these guys that get drafted, most of their development camps start basically immediately after. So it's like a lot of them start on Monday. A lot of development camps start on Monday. So it's like they're going to draft the kid and they're going to buy him a flight, and then he's going to fly to wherever that is and start development camp on Monday. And development camps are also way different now than they used to be. Now, coming out of the lockout, pre-lockout development camps were like 2 to 3 weeks long because there was no limits on them. Like they would have a player for basically like 3/4 of the summer and just run. Like Minnesota would run them up in like Duluth or Two Harbors or somewhere, and they'd have guys for like 3 weeks of like 2-a-days, like just brutal how long the development camp was. And that's how they, had their control. Now with that lockout, they changed that in the CBA where they put more limits on it. And then it was down to like a week. So it was like 7 or 8 days. Like they had a certain limit of how many days camp could be. So I believe it was like a week or 2 weeks afterwards. And then you fly down to Minnesota and you have your whole dev camp there. Now, dev camps have changed even more now because that still was like 2-a-days. So you get drafted. Now you fly down, and generally most dev camps are like 3 days long now, maybe 4. And they're like 1 skate a day just to kind of see where you're at. But they realize it's like generally not everyone's in the best shape at this point in the summer. Some guys just finished their season if they had a long season or went deep in the playoffs in the Memorial Cup. So why are you going to run 2-a-day baggers and just beat the crap out of your guys for like 3 weeks straight, or even a week straight of 2-a-days, which is what it was in Minnesota. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. Gage, or maybe you can talk when you get into yours, like with dev camp, but yeah, it was like a week or 2 after, and then you're into dev camp and down there, and then you get the hat, and that's when we got the jersey and the experience and all that. being there and getting the Minnesota Wild gear and having that equipment on, and you don't get to keep it at that point. You don't get to take it home after dev camp, but still kind of cool to be a part of that.
Wow, Cass, thanks for that. That was incredible storytelling. I appreciate your insight into the aftermath as well. That was fantastic. This comes in, I've seen this now a couple times, and then Gage, I'm going to throw it over to you. Do you get nominated to get entered in the draft? Like if an NHL team wanted to, could they draft me, some Joe Blow, or are there requirements? I think it's, for you just have your draft year, the year that you were eligible for the draft, and everybody's eligible.
Over the age of 18.
Over the age of 18.
Or 17.
Over the age.
Like there's a cutoff.
If you have to be 18 on September 15th.
Yeah, something like that.
But
18
to
on
say,
September 15th.
Could they draft me, some Joe Blow? Well, maybe they could, but they would never.
They could, technically.
They could.
But you age out of it, though, I think at 20. You age out of the draft at 20. Yeah.
So you can be draft eligible for 2 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
It happened to my
It could be technically 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Wow. Okay. I did not know that. Joaquin Gage. June 20th, 1992. Now, this might be a little bit of a different story, but I'm here for it. Where were you? Break it down. How was your draft?
Well, the draft was in Montreal.
Yep.
I originally did not want to go because Don Cherry said, if you're not rated in the first round, don't go. I'm tired of seeing guys sitting up there with their mom and dads like in just shambles.
What does he have a problem with that?
It's heart-wrenching.
Sure.
But 3 of my buddies went on my team and sat there for 12 rounds.
And didn't get drafted. No.
And there was lots of guys like that. So
okay, let's start there. Is it on your tab?
Yeah.
Or does your junior team help you with that? Or how'd that work?
Me, it was on my tab. My parents wanted to go to Montreal, and then we went to a family friend's place in northern Quebec afterwards. So it was kind of like a family trip a little bit. But Montreal in the summer is hot and humid, not nice. Old Montreal form, which was fantastic, but the AC is not on in there. So, and I've said this before, I was worried about going because that was the first year all the wall came down and Russians were available. Right. So the first round took 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So you can imagine a full Montreal form with a bunch of sweaty teenagers. It was gross in there. And I was just kind of looking through the names of like that year, Roman Hamonic went 1, Yashin went 2. My good friend David Cooper went 11th. I didn't even know that. But some of the names, it was cool when I got drafted because I went 109th overall, and I played with him in the minors. But Yuri Himalev, he was a Russian, and he actually sat right next to me at the draft. I didn't know who he was. And then Brian Loney went after me, who I went to Athol Murray College in Notre Dame with. So it was neat we both went down and we were like, oh my gosh, look what's happening here. But I mean, the draft was so surreal and weird because I was rated high. Well, not too high. I was rated in the 3rd round. And I remember because Jim Carey, the goalie, he went, I believe, in the 3rd round. Might have been the 2nd round. No, he went in the 2nd round. And it was a bit like I remember
32nd overall.
So I remember when the Washington Capitals would like to select the first goalie or in the draft, and I was like, oh god, and then they said Jim Carey, like, oh, too bad. But and then just meeting a bunch of players that back then it was different, right? There was no internet or anything like that, so how you got your information back then was the hockey news. The magazine. So Bob, when you'd see Bob McKenzie, because he had big articles in there, and sometimes he'd write about you. And the Bob father, he was the god of junior play. He knew everybody and everything, right? So how you learned about other players was through the hockey news. So all of a sudden, I'm seeing all these guys that I've read about. Like if you were to go on my junior bus and one guy had enough money to buy a hockey news. That thing would be passed around. And
Really?
You'd try to get it early because it would just be in shambles at the end of it, right? And you'd just go through that whole thing. But I was rated in the third round, and probably, who knows? But I went in the fifth round, which was still remarkable. I still remember just the tension of going, gosh, because I think after the fifth round, they took a break. And then they did the rest, all 12.
After the fifth round. So you got in before the break.
Just before the break.
Goodness.
Thank God, because I was like, what am I doing here? And I actually told Trev this story yesterday, because one of my teammates in Portland, his name was Colin Foley. And he was one of those guys that if you were to ask him, hey, what way does Drew Bannister shoot? He'd go, he's right-handed. Or like he knew everything. Everything. And so I actually went back to my seat afterwards, after I went to the table and stuff. They took some pictures, and they gave us a box of Upper Deck cards stuff, which was great. And I was sitting there, and Colin was behind me, and he knew everyone's stats. And so they started announcing all these names, and he was getting a little bit mad. He was a special kid, but he was and he would yell out, "That guy's brutal." But no, it was.
Did you get a hat?
The jersey. They you could see there was like glue or Velcro.
Yeah,
like they had my name, and I.
Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, it's in my.
Do you have the hat?
Ooh, I probably don't have the hat anymore.
Oh man,
it was old school hat, like orange brim, blue. Yeah, it's too bad. I should have probably kept that. I wasn't good at keeping that kind of stuff.
Would you, if you could go back, would you have like encased that stuff right away and kept it as a memento?
Yeah, I mean, I always kept the jersey, and the jersey's different because it says 92 on the back, right, for the year and stuff. So that was pretty cool. I remember going down, meeting Slats, sitting there with a cigar in his mouth, and then the week later, the initiation camp or whatever. It's the first time I met Louis DeBrusque. That was his.
Oh wow!
He had got traded. But there was a handful of guys, right? And we just got absolutely destroyed at this rookie camp. Like 2-a-days, working out for 5 days. And I was like, oh my gosh. I told the story to Ronnie Lowe because I was dead tired. He came and yelled at me in between the glass to get my button gear. But no, I mean, just the look on your parents' face, when that happens. Pretty special.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Joaquin, for that. That was both excellent stories. That's just what people want to hear, is a little bit of insight into what that day's like and what these kids are going to be going through tonight. We got to get to hire it or fire it for GS Construction. It'll be a little bit of a rapid fire because we have about 6 minutes left in the show. GS Construction is hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. Cass, I'll start with you. Hire it or fire it. Stuart Skinner will not be an Edmonton Oiler next season. Will not.
We all know where I stand on this one. I'm going to fire it. He will be.
Okay.
And I know people are all like, goalie. And I know the team said, we're probably not really making to look many changes on defense, but you're not going to come in and after the season say to all your defensemen, hey, we're blowing up everything. Right? Like, you're not going to say that. That is where they are going to try to make the most tweaks. That's where they're going to make the most tweaks, and they should. Their defense needs to get better. Their penalty killing has to get better. And people will be goaltending, Skinner. And I think it's a bunch of bogus. So I got to fire it.
Yeah, fire it. I think he starts the season.
I think there's a very high likelihood that they run it back with the same two goalies. I mean, you look at what they're, what is it? $3.6 million towards the cap for two goaltenders that, oh, by the way, Stuart Skinner's been the starting netminder for a team that's been to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I'm missing or what I'm not seeing. I know that's the easiest position to point your finger at and say, oh, he stinks or it's not good enough. But I got news for you. They don't have many options in terms of cap.
I would say they're looking, but the options, it's not better than what you got. Not even close.
Gager, hire it or fire it. Matt Savoy will need to make the jump and become a top 6 mainstay for this to all work out for the Oilers moving forward.
I'm going to fire it. I don't know what he's capable of yet. I think he's a really good hockey player, but to be thrust into the top 6 on a team trying to compete for a Stanley Cup, being a first, that rarely works out.
Cass?
Ooh, I'm going to fire it because there's more to come in terms of adjustments, trades, moves. There's more to come. If they were like, you cannot make any trades or any changes except to bring Savoy here, then I would say yes, it does. But since there's still maybe more to come, I think I have to fire it.
Come on, guys. Don't you think that, isn't it fun to think that maybe this could be the winger that Leon Draisaitl's been looking for all these years?
Fingers crossed.
It could absolutely be. Yeah. Absolutely. And I hope it is. But I don't want to pin it on the kid.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure for sure. Okay, Reed was off earlier in the week, so on Tuesday, Matt and I did the freezer aisle debate on our show. So I'm just going to ask this because I put it out on a Twitter poll last night. You can follow me at Jason Milne on Twitter if you want to go vote on that. Cass, I'll go to you first. In terms of freezer aisles at the grocery store, are drumsticks the best item in that freezer aisle? And as far as ice cream treats or that sort, drumsticks, are they the king, Cass?
So we're not including like tater tots and that sort of thing.
No, because trust me, I'm a fan of you give me a bagel bite, I'm all over it, baby. But this is just for sweet treats of the ice cream or popsicle delight.
Yeah, man, I do love a good ice cream sandwich, though.
Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Okay, let's dive into that ice cream sandwich thing here, because I agree, a good ice cream sandwich is top shelf, but the big ones, like what are they called?
The Costco ones,
like Klondike or like Polar or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't like those.
The circle ones. Yeah.
Just give me the cheapest in the white wrapper container that you can give me. Like the cheaper, the better it seems for ice cream sandwiches. Am I right, Cass?
You might be right in that. Yeah, the cheap ones are generally pretty good. Yeah, cheap ones are generally, there's some ones that are like actually frozen yogurt ones, so they're a little bit lighter, but you can't really tell the difference. They're pretty solid. So we get those in our house because the kids love them. You know what though? I gotta hire it. I think like if I had to pick between the two, I can only go to one grocery store, and the grocery store has either ice cream sandwiches or it has like the cones. I got to go with the cones.
Yeah.
Because there's a little more variety even in your bites.
Well, you can take it and go. You can move and groove with a drumstick in hand.
You can move and groove. You get the ice cream at the top, and you have ice cream in the middle, but you have more chocolate at the bottom. So it's just like you have a little bit more texture and variety there in it. So I gotta agree and hire it.
I'm gonna fire it because I'm at a certain vintage where the drumsticks I remember as a kid. Maybe my hands were smaller. I don't know. But those things look like a mace used in Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. Like they were huge. When I grab them now, they're like a one-timer. I liked when there was a big ball on the top and you had to balance it on the cone. Yeah. Cone was a lot bigger. They've gotten a lot smaller since I was a young lad.
I got one in the freezer if you want to try it, Gage.
We'll measure it in my hand.
Yeah, we'll see how it looks. You have massive hands too, so that doesn't help. Okay, we got to get out. This has been great. Matt Cassian, thanks for your amazing draft story. Joaquin Gage, same to be said about you. This is Team Drumstick for sure. Drumstick or ice cream sandwich, we'll give it that. But this has been fun. Thank you for listening. This has been Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Coming up next, you got EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and the one and only Joaquin Gage, followed by the Reed Wilkins Show, which will be abbreviated. It'll only go till 5:30 which is when Matthew Wannick and myself will take on the Green and Gold kickoff show leading into the Elks game out in Winnipeg tonight. For Matt Cassian, for Joaquin Gage, I am Jay Milne. Thanks for tuning in. We'll check in with you next time.